The way I kind of advertise it is, you know, what is the price that we pay for our political activism? And so, like, something I'm familiar with is how you were arrested, you know, with the Occupy thing, and that's something that's kind of close to our time right now, and people, so people will understand that. So I think that's a good thing to talk about, and you've already won that case, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good one to talk about because, you know, basically, I know what happened. I mean, you were standing there, they kicked you out, they arrested you.
Yeah, and they wouldn't tell me what it was for.
And and then also, you know, you want to talk about what's going on with the CTS thing some, and then we'll have to kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
But if you can, try to stay focused on.
Okay, you might have
on
to
how it is for you as a human being.
My mind comes in and goes out.
Right.
It's like I've got so many trains coming in the station, and you know, that's how I was on TV. I'd be talking about one thing, and another train would come in, and it was
I've heard you talk publicly, and then you have a great voice. You speak very well, but yeah, you do tend to kind of go
I mean, my mind. I have so many.
Right.
A friend had told me that you can ask me the time, and I tell you how to build a clock.
Right. So and what I want the people to hear is I want the people to hear how you feel as a human being who cares about things, and caring about things has really just kind of cost you
a lot
in multiple ways.
And I feel that my loss is going to be worth it if I can set this precedent.
Yeah, there you go. And you probably like that. Knowing you, I would wear the headphones. And knowing you, I would imagine that you're not planning on giving up anytime soon.
Oh no.
So.
I'm in it for the fight, and I'll tell you what, I really wouldn't be surprised if the judge, after looking at the evidence, doesn't you know, do as requested, and they're arrested.
Right. So
I mean, that's a possibility.
Let's do that. And we got 1 minute.
Now, I'll hear your voice in here too?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
You should.
Like, I mean, the music's loud, so I was.
Are you hearing the music right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is my mic?
Pardon me?
This is my mic?
Yeah. And you want to talk straight into it, and if you kind of look over there or something, but you'll be looking at me, so it'll work out. Sometimes I'm sitting here, and Kim's sitting here, and we got somebody there, and they're like going like this. But yeah, make yourself comfortable. It's important you're comfortable. And this is really easy, Lisa. It's just like talking to me if we ran
just like on
each
the
other
TV.
to the marketplace or something. So.
Oh yeah. Well, that's good.
All right, it is 9:32. We just heard from Van Morrison off his Philosopher's Stone CD with a little something called Wonderful Remark. And I'm Scotty O, and I'm very fortunate to have Lisa Landis in the studio here with me today. And as part of the program I'm presenting here on Tuesday mornings to try to have a few people up from the community to tell us a little bit about what's important to them, along with some music. And Lisa, let's get to talking to you.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
GLoLady here.
There we go. Yeah, that's right, GLoLady. A lot of you might know Lisa as GLoLady.
Enlightening the masses.
There you go. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. We brought you up here today because I'd like to have you tell our audience a little bit about the price that you've paid as a political activist. So go ahead and give us a little background, how you got started in political activism, and then we'll carry it on from there.
Okay. First, I'd like to say the feeling that I got when I walked out of the federal courthouse yesterday at 3:22 was a load lifted off of me after I filed that civil rights lawsuit. And
well, wait a minute now. What civil rights lawsuit?
I filed a federal civil rights lawsuit. Lisa Bain Landis versus Buncombe County Government et al. I forgot the Lisa Bain Landis et al. At the top too, because I'm seeing that there's really a lot of corruption, conspiracy that is tied to my arrest. I guess I'm going to go backwards. That's what it seems to be doing. When I was falsely arrested, targeted during the Occupy movement. And I have found that people's voices are so important to be heard. And we have laws and ordinances and statutes that give people a First Amendment right to speak, right to press, right to assemble peaceably, right to hold our government accountable, to redress our government for grievances and religion. And it's our duty as people to hold them accountable.
Okay, well, let's go to something specific that happened with you. I was there during the Occupy protest, and I remember what happened personally, but let's go to that time in your life. You were with the Occupy movement, and you were one of the few people who was actually arrested. Out of that whole group, there were some people who were intentionally arrested for doing some public civil disobedience, but they just kind of picked you out of the crowd and arrested you. Why don't you tell us about that, how that happened, how that played out?
Well, you know, it's like, since you told me that, I'm like, oh man, yeah, maybe I really should have started at the beginning, because, you know, by them targeting me, it was really a culmination at the extent that they would go and did go to silence my voice, going back to URTV, the public access that we used to have in this county. Our government deliberately withheld the funds, lied about or owing us any more money, and then in another meeting saying, oh yeah, we owed you $4,500, that would have kept the studio open for another month. So they intentionally silenced our voices, and I kept speaking up, and I was thrown out of Buncombe County meetings when I was holding our government accountable for what they're telling us. You know, if you're going to tell me it's black, don't tell me it's white later.
Okay, so you had some interaction with the county government over the TV, URTV,
big
and
time.
then you showed up at Occupy, and tell us about that.
No. See, I was occupying before Occupy started. Let's get that straight. Occupy joined me.
Okay, well, I can go with that. So there you were, at Occupy.
Speaking, yeah. Always.
And you were arrested, and what were you arrested for?
It was three charges, and I've tried to be a good girl all my life and not get arrested and do things bad, and I had just received an application to be a volunteer as a reverend to take meetings into the jail. What was that? That was October 28th. The march that was held was November 2nd. I had no plans on being a participant. I ended up seeing them. I had my camera out. I was right at the end. I thought it was a police escorted march. I'm at the end and there's police right there. So I'm videotaping at the end.
There was a march in the street, right?
There was a march in the street. It wasn't just a rally
at Pritchard Park
no.
or something, right?
No, I had seen them when they were at Pritchard Park. So that's where I had joined, not with them. I never chanted, I never, other than as a citizen journalist, I didn't join in the march. And when I heard a wah, wah, I went up on the sidewalk. Okay, I'm hearing something that sounds like maybe, get off the road. Oh, that was the only thing I ever heard. I didn't tell anybody or hear anybody. Anyhow, went in the front. The police were already blocking the roadway. Went in front of the, I'm a videographer. I am a citizen journalist. I get the story. Went around videotaping. Went back across the street, across from Vance, beside a Asheville Police Department woman who is videotaping and speaking with her about this march that occurred, asking her who got the permit, who did this, who did that, why are the police blocking? Oh, it's for your safety. And then 3 days later, I was, targeted, falsely arrested,
You were just,
falsely imprisoned.
if I remember, you were just kind of picked up one day.
I was videotaping. It's up GLoLady, GLoLady on YouTube. Look up Buncombe County government videos for the commission meeting.
Okay.
I mean,
this is a couple days after the
3
actual
days.
parade.
3 days.
And so you were...
Nothing I did wrong. I was not told I did anything wrong on November 7th.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, November 2nd. And by law, you have to be told that what you are doing, an action that you are doing is wrong before you can be arrested. So there was no probable cause. They do not, because I was not guilty of disorderly conduct, resisting a police officer, and impeding traffic. The police had the traffic blocked off. The resisting arrest, well, no, I didn't hear anybody tell me to get off the road. When I heard it went, I got off the road. And then what really, really upset me, because I really didn't know too much about law, but I started researching. When I found out that the disorderly was linked to common law, which went back to inciting a riot on a highway with dangerous weapons and threats of murder. And I'm like, as a reverend, I mean, this totally goes against what I preach, what I teach, how I act, I mean, if you look on the Buncombe County meetings, you will see when they are being really not nice to me, dragging me out of a meeting because I stood up for somebody who was talking about CTS. And David Gant, the chairman, told him he did not know what he was talking about, that he was out of order, and get out of here. And made him leave during public comment, which is supposed to be free speech, for 3 minutes. Ordered him out of the room, and I stood up and said, wait a minute, where's his free speech? Why can't he have 3 minutes? Get out of here, you're out of here too. And that's the time that they actually drugged me. That was, I mean, it's all one big corruption cover-up.
Well, you kind of
Bouncing around,
got away from my original question.
I have a habit of that.
Yeah, that's all right. About the Occupy thing. So you were arrested, and you went to court.
I went to court,
And
7 months, 5 court hearings.
You won the case. They found that
Eventually.
you were not guilty.
On appeal.
On appeal.
In the district court, they found me guilty.
Okay.
And that's when I was targeted in the elevator on the way up to my court hearing, when Ron Moore is standing beside me on my right and physically pointing his finger down at me to the assistant district attorney who's going to be prosecuting me. And I don't know if they have transcripts of that available, but he was so rude and obnoxious, and I told him right there I would not quit until DA Ron Moore is arrested and held accountable.
Okay, so you went to court, and
The first one they found me
you
guilty,
were found guilty.
appealed it.
And what were the charges?
That was the, I'm trying to think, I think they might have only had the impeding traffic. I think the other two they had dropped prior, one in January, let me see, I think the other one in April, something like that. And then this was May, when they found me guilty, May 26th, the same day I was hit head on by a drunk driver that night. Then I appealed it, came back June 4th, it was postponed, and then June 7th is when the jury was out for less than 10 minutes, and I took the jury 8 minutes to find me not guilty.
Not guilty, and so that incident, here you are out on the street, you're trying to film, do some independent citizen journalism.
Right.
You get arrested, you know, days later, kind of picked out of the...
not knowing what I was arrested for, that's what really
you're found
freaked me
guilty, and then you go back and appeal, and they find you innocent right away.
Yeah.
So this is just one incident
that's a culmination.
That's occurred to you, and in your feelings, it's this is.
I was targeted.
You've been targeted.
I've been maliciously
partly for work that you did with URTV
for uncovering the corruption in Buncombe County.
That line, and then now there was another incident where it had to do with the CTS contamination, and just recently you were hauled. Now tell us about that. You were taken out of the meeting.
That was the one that I was arrested, that I was stood up for the man when he wanted to talk about CTS. And David Gant stopped him from talking because there was supposed to be some meeting coming up in like a week, and oh, you know, he didn't want to corrupt the story or whatever. Whatever reason he had, he was out of line. I was arrested because I stood up for that man's First Amendment rights, because the times that I have been in...
What man?
I can't remember his name. He's going to have to forgive me.
Okay.
He's a homeowner, him and his wife. I have her name written down.
Right.
Oh goodness, I
But
can't
there was
remember.
a man, and he was speaking about...
And he was speaking about...
Right.
His family is sick.
Right. And
his neighbors are sick.
And so you stood up
yeah, and I stood up for him, to defend him, because wait a minute, you know, we need a platform for our community,
Right.
the
Public
unity
meeting.
in our community, to hold our government accountable.
Right. And so...
I feel that there's a corruption going on, a conspiracy to cover up the corruption between the Buncombe County government and CTS. That man was not allowed to talk about the toxic conditions that he was suffering. And now, when I was just finishing up my lawsuit yesterday, it was brought to my attention that CTS was publicly, you know, sorry about your luck, but you can't sue us for, you know, your toxic properties.
Okay, so you were arrested...
I was falsely arrested that
At the
time.
meeting?
Yes, by law.
They took you
They
out
detained me,
of the meeting
and
in
they
front of
tried to
everyone.
drag me out. I had my hands on top of my head, putting my backpack on.
Okay.
And you can see me politely saying, "Excuse me, I'm putting my backpack on."
And you have a video of...
And there's a video, Jerry Rice. He is the one who has been filming these government meetings for the past, I don't know, like 20 years. So yeah, he's got the behind the scenes of what they did. I don't know if they showed what they physically did to me on Buncombe County videos, but Jerry has a clip on there of what they did to me, how they treated me.
Okay, what were you charged for?
They didn't charge me. They just made sure that I got out. Bill Stanley threatened to get a warrant, an arrest warrant.
So they just took you out of the meeting?
They tried to drag me out of the meeting, and I refused to be drugged.
Okay.
So once they let me go, they let go of my arm,
Right.
I walked peacefully out.
Okay, so you filed a lawsuit now?
I filed
over
a
that
lawsuit.
act, or that
That's
incident?
one of. That's
Okay.
one of. There's another one. The first one is from June the 7th of 2011. And that's where we found out that they were, you know, denying, you know, and shutting down my job, my business, taking away my source of revenue, more or less laughing about it. You know, oh, sorry, there's no money there. Oh, the state threw you under the bus, and a whole bunch of other fraudulent statements. I know that I have a charge of perjury on that lawsuit, and besides the civil rights violations, and I mean, this is what they call icky goo. And we, the people, if we have these constitutional rights, they are nothing unless the people stand up and say, hey man, I got these rights.
Well, Lisa, we only just had a few minutes to talk about, you know, some stuff that's transpired over the course of a couple of years for you, and
Lifetime.
I really didn't even barely got past the very tip of what it is that I really wanted to talk about here. But how many times have you been arrested for activism? Do you remember exactly?
The first time I was arrested for activism was back in '97 when I joined the last patrol and did a 900-mile Veterans March from Melbourne, Florida to Washington, D.C., educating the public on veterans issues. I learned my walking man patch, so I'm very proud to be a walking man for the last patrol. We had gotten proclamations from Florida, Georgia, the state of North Carolina arrested us for walking on the highway. There were 22 of us that were arrested. Governor Beasley, he ended up getting booted out of, or well, not booted, but for getting reelected. And that was my first activism.
Your first one? And
yeah.
so how many times altogether have you?
Really two. I mean, that was expunged or whatever,
Right.
you know. And I willingly got arrested to stand up for veterans who are willing to die for my right and freedom. The least I can do is hold our government accountable for the lives of all those who have died willingly for them.
Well, you just made a very interesting point, that those who have died, willingly for our freedoms. Now, you haven't died, obviously, but you have
You
stood
don't
up for
know how many lives I've had to die and reinvent myself. I have lost so much.
Right.
You couldn't imagine what I have lost so much.
Well, there are other ways to suffer.
Well, they say out of great suffering comes great wisdom, and I consider myself to be very wise at this point in time.
Well, there you go. And I mean, I don't see in any of this that there's like a victim, that where you were doing something, that created. I don't think you created a victim in anything.
No. I try to always help people.
Basically, standing
public
up
purpose. I am for
your
public
democracy and
public purpose.
public.
Yeah.
Well, I've been out there, with the demonstrators a little bit myself, and I've seen some of the frustration that people encounter when they are doing what to them is they're generally acting from a moral, social responsibility. They feel a responsibility, they feel called, compelled to be out on the street, in the courtrooms, wherever it is they are, speaking up for the democracy. Do you have any plans of giving that up, Lisa?
Well, I'll tell you what, my life goal when I was a child was to get married, have kids, live on a farm happily ever after. And as I said, I lost a lot in order to get to this point, and the only thing that will make it worth it is to set that precedent so that we can have a platform, a public education government platform, so we the people can hold our government accountable. That to me will be worth the loss that's taken me to get this far.
Do you have any, I know you don't, well, do you think that we are slipping backwards now, or
No.
do you think we're making any progress?
We are definitely making progress, because a lot of the things, or one of the reasons why they wanted to shut me up is that I talk about astrotheology. And astrotheology is a study of astrology, numerology. It's what the wise man taught way back before the Christ child. This was the religion before Christianity came along and killed people until you submitted to their religion. And they don't want to hear these things. But guess what? We are now in the age of Aquarius. We are entering that 1,000 years of world peace, because we are enlightening the masses. We are educating people. And that's, it's easy to control people, when ignorance is bliss. But knowledge is power, and those who have the knowledge is power. That's why, no, they don't want people to be educated on, hey man, you want to guess what things are, in the planetary system? It makes a whole lot of sense. My son is conjunct Pisces in my 12th house. Well, I'm going to be talking about a whole lot of corrupt, and that's just me.
All right, Lisa, well, sorry to cut it so short, but I've got to get ready for Democracy Now!
Yay, I love that show. We had that on URTV. I love that show.
It's something, there's a lot of different ways that we can be involved out there.
Cool. And I'm going to keep talking as much as I can on public radio, because you had said something about mass media, and I'm like, yeah, they can edit my words. When I come to community radio, they can hear them, and they know they're from the heart.
Well, I certainly know. Yeah, this is sort of unedited and unscripted interview with you, and I certainly appreciate you coming up here. A lot of people don't even have the courage to say what they feel, and so I appreciate you going to the trouble of coming over here, showing up, and letting us know how you feel.
Yeah, well, there's going to be more. Don't be afraid.
I hope so, Lisa. Thank you very much.
Love you.
Love you.
Yay! Thank you.
You have so much to say.
Yeah.